it's nearly unthinkable. So I feel like that might have raised his celebrity status over here in Taiwan.
Yeah, well, he's definitely got that celebrity status over here. Like I say, in the West, not so much. I mean, everybody knows he's good, but he's going to prove how good he is if he wins this one, because it's not going to work out too well for him, I don't think.
Right, and the bans came in as expected. Purple getting rid of the most aggressive deck from Virtual's lineup, which is Paladin, and Virtual responding with a Warlock ban. So we're going to start off with a Tempo Rogue versus Secret Mage match, which we have been arguing about who is favored all throughout the past few days, and we've seen some rogues taking this pretty solidly, but again, the fact that the mage can burn out the rogue behind an ice block can be very, very significant.
One thing we both agreed on, though, is that the rogue can barely use their weapon.
Sure.
To do any sort of face tanking. They have to be very careful how much damage they take to the face right from the very early turns, but this might be a turn where he actually does use the weapon, as it will save him taking the 2 from the 2 minions anyway.
The first priority definitely is to remove the mage minions, as we always say, and this seems a very, very reasonable use of the dagger, and especially having picked up Corridor Creeper, it incentivizes this trade from Virtual a lot more.
Yeah, and you don't mind wasting the charges. If you're not going to attack with it many times, you haven't got any sort of worry about just using those charges up the 1 or 2 times you actually do use it.
Sure, and Purple picking up a hand that looks in dire need of a Kirin Tor Mage on the next turns. Otherwise, he looks to be simply developing some secrets. He could get a Cabal Crystal Runner down, not too late, but behind only a couple secrets, it seems like this kind of start lacks the punch that Mage really needs to get to outpace the Rogue.
Talking about this tech choice in one of the earlier matches from Virtual, instead of playing double Chain Gang, he's playing one of these 1 Tar Creeper. Looks like a good choice right now.
Sure, and he got it down right before the explosive runes turn so that the chain gang can actually eat it up a lot more effectively.
So, job starting to be accomplished of stopping your mage opponent from hitting you in the face.
Yeah, taunts are pretty good, huh?
Seems good.
It forces Purple to be spending some of his burn on minions, as he obviously cannot ignore the board, which is totally to Virtual's game plan. Trades could be happening for some good Corridor Creeper action here, but nothing too clean, so I do prefer just playing down that Cobalt scaling.
Yeah, I keep calling it Cobalt as well.
Yeah.
Cobalts and Catacombs doesn't sound quite so good. Another interesting thing about this matchup, another thing that happens a lot is as soon as the mage stops playing minions, you know who's won the game, unless there's an Luneth. That's divided to all of that. As soon as the mage runs out of minions, you know how much damage they have to do with their spells, and it all becomes very calculable.
So Virtual definitely forced the ping there, but Purple is still able to fit in a trade and a very, very timely Frostbolt. Frostbolt is such a good card, not just because it does the standard 3 damage for 2 mana, but the additional freeze effect in combination with the mage hero power can be so useful. You can just kind of parcel out your damage over 2 turns without having to care about the attack on the backswing.
This is just ridiculous, though. This board that Virtual's managed to create here. And has he taken any damage from minions at all, apart from that 1 face tank for 2? I don't think he has. Yeah,
not too much. So Purple again forced to clear minions. I suppose he'll be fireballing the corridor and trading a Mana Worm. That would put the Corridor Creeper at 0. So if he does go for Fireball, he can't fit in the Ice Block. He was hovering over the Ice Block, though, so maybe this isn't a Fireball turn. I'm thinking Fireball and Arcanologist. It fits the mana best, though.
It's pretty grim when you're already... We say this every time, but it's worth noting, like, the second that burn starts going on to minions and you haven't got a Luneth to refuel, you just give the rogue so much time, and he's actually just going to hit you in the face.
All right, so Purple has already recognized that he cannot get there with the minion damage. He cannot get there by clearing the board, so he's saying that all this burn in my hand is going to go face. Better get the Ice Block down as soon as possible while it can still buff the Mana Worm and get additional damage in.
Extra damage from that and extra time from the Ice Block to try to buy time to stick all these cards in your face. Maybe you get a Doom Guard from the Firelands. That's an out to potentially buy you the time you need, for instance.
Right, and in many of these games where we've seen Purple and Firebat playing Mage against Rogue, they seem to be going for the burn plan about 1 turn before us casters would have done so, and that probably signifies a lot of experience in the matchup. Knowing that you simply can't outpace this minion value, you can't rely on a Firelands Portal, even though it's such a good card to deal with all these things at once. So Purple knows that the odds of him getting to enough burn are way higher than the odds that he could draw into like a glyph into fire, flame strike.
You see just how that extra damage is mattering. And the number of times I've seen this matchup, I do wonder if the second ice block ends up going back into this deck. Just the number of times we said, oh, if only had a chance at a second ice block, he could just about win.
Yeah.
I don't know what you take out for it. That's always the question. If you say a card should go in, you do have to lose some more damage from somewhere, but I just feel second ice block belongs in this deck in the current meta, in tournaments.
And interestingly enough, Purple then switches game plans to get rid of a 7/4. I guess he thinks it would buy him one more turn.
Yeah.
Unfortunate Fireline's pick, but in the long run, it just didn't matter, even if it were higher statted, as long as it weren't a taunt. So it wouldn't be a taunt. So how much does Virtual have to be scared of a burn plan from here? I feel like 20 is definitely a safe health.
I mean, it's tedious as anything, but we always start talking about Glyph is the only out. Roundabout now, and I think we're in that position again. Glyph is about the only out.
Yes, it is.
I don't think you have to be scared at all. Just make sure you keep setting up lethals, which is not hard when your opponent's on 3.
Yeah, and I think that just about locks Purple out of the game, because if he goes Arcanologist, Secret, and Valet, he still can't clear off enough to get him out of range. So Virtual gonna take game 1 very, very solidly.
Yeah, and he's looking cool, considering he's playing against the guy he admires the most. I'd be terrified if I was playing against the guy I admire the most.
Sure.
That's because Sottle would hit me if I beat him.
Very flattering for Sottle to hear that, I'm sure. Well, at the same time, you could think of it as going up against your idol is really motivating instead of scary. And maybe Virtual is one of those guys that thrives under pressure. And we did see some very clean play, not too much hesitation, and doesn't seem to be very nervous. So if he can keep that going, then he could have a good chance. But still, Purple's lineup still feels like it can find some target in that Warlock.
Yeah, at some point as well, the nerves go because you get to the point where there's nothing to lose. But then, let's say he goes 2-0 up, it flips around, and suddenly you've got everything to lose because you get onto the edge of winning. So it'll be interesting to see how he copes. Purple is always looking really bothered by everything. No.
Yeah, we tried so many ways to describe his expression yesterday, but honestly, I feel like Purple is one of those guys that just goes there and he knows what to do in a game.
There's an inner smugness that sort of can't quite help but sneak its way out, I think.
Yeah. So the expressions are all just an after effect of whatever he's got cooking up in that mind of his. And Mana Worm on 1 looking pretty solid. So Priest versus Mage, we saw a very, very interesting way that Purple took this matchup a couple games ago, where he was able to just stick Sorcerer's Apprentices and his opponent just, well, wasted his silence, and for that reason Purple got there with minion damage, which you don't very often see Mage do. Yeah,
the silence, when you say it was wasted because it was there to proc a counterspell, which ended up just stopping. It ended up, the idea was to slow down a Sorcerer's Apprentice, but what actually happened, it meant he couldn't proc a counterspell, so he couldn't play a Holy Fire later on. Right,
and Virtual, I'm sure he has seen that match and will not be making similar mistakes. And this hand is looking a bit more well-positioned to deal with minions of the size of a Sorcerer's Apprentice, although they aren't quite in hand.
Yeah, he should be able to set up something with his Pyromancer and Power Word Shield. Just a case of how long he wants to push it, how much dare he take. Of course, this isn't Rogue, so you're not in as much hurry to prevent the damage. You want to stop it quickly, but you can heal back up. So with that binding heal, he can take a little bit more time than maybe he would have in the Rogue match.
Right, this is a hand from Virtual that would be comfortable dealing with small minions from Purple, but Purple were to draw into more Secrets and then Cabal Crystal Runner, I feel like that's way more resistant to what Virtual has drawn. So this turn, though, of course, Explosive Runes makes a lot of sense. If a Pyro were to come down, it would just straight away get blown up. Flames upon flames.
Flames upon flames. The Pyromancer just doesn't beat the Pyro.
Yes.
Weird.
And Virtual recognizes that, so he's about to toss away the Thalnos first, and that means he will be taking a bunch of damage, but I think this sets up pretty nicely for a big Pyro turn next turn, barring some sort of second secret drawn for Purple.
So there's a big deal, the Radiant Elemental, with all the stuff that Purple we've been talking about, Virtual we've been talking about, how he can clear. That's going to make a big difference to how quickly he can do all those things.
And looks like Purple's just going to chuck this Frostbolt straight away, put the Mana Worm at the Magic 4 attack threshold. And Virtual already down to 14, but he thankfully has a decent way of clearing this off between Pyro Coin, Shield and Binding Heal. It's a lot of resources, but again, Purple's hand is just 2 cards, so he does not mind about that at all.
Yeah, and Virtual's going to be all the way back up at 19, just like that, with something on board versus nothing. And we've not seen many Aluneths in this tournament. The only one I can remember is one that Fireback kept, that he won the game on turn 5 anyway, and it ended up being useless.
And the one in the Mage Mirror of Aaron and...
Oh, okay, yeah. And that's all about... You always see a Luneth in that, because the 2 decks cancel each other out until somebody actually gets it.
True enough, and Purple has drawn quite dead there, choosing to hold back the Kirin-Tor Mage because would have died straight up to a trade with the Pyro. I'm not sure what the game plan is now for Purple. Interesting to me there that Virtual didn't weave in a 2 heal gain. He's choosing to go wide on board instead. How do you feel about that? I think it's interesting. He's realized that Purple did not have any minions he wanted to play, so maybe Virtual is taking this opportunity to put a very powerful minion that warrants removal, especially with Lyra in hand, which is the Radiant Elemental. Of course, it won't be active yet this turn, but I guess that extra chip damage, or just curving out like this, is really appealing to Virtual, and I like the line. He's also out of spells. Yeah. So... needed those in case something like a creeper came down, just to be able to challenge the next minion that was played because out of stuff. But that did cost him 2 health. Right. Be interesting to see how that actually works out for him in the end. Sure, and Purple recognizes that he cannot be toying around with this Lyra, that Fireball cannot afford to go anywhere else but face, because if he spends it clearing minions, there's no way he wins. This way he wins if the Lyra doesn't pull something insane, but it has. Double Spirit Lash now. Cheap as chips as well for Virtual. He's going to be able to heal up a whole load. Yeah, by using the Spirit Lashes and draw some cards. At least for this turn. Are you liking Cleric Lash and heal and then figure out what to do next? Or are you liking Mind Blast to get the next few Mind Blasts and just end the game right there? Oh, wow. You just after the full-on me, Miss Lethal, didn't Mind Blast 6 times. We could go for Endless Holy Smites here. Oh, Purple just, he's had enough of it. So that was an extremely quick game. Might be the fastest we've seen all weekend. And Virtual, looking like he's rushing to a Christmas Eve dinner, huh? It really does. Like, looking Christmas Eve dinner with Kranich at this rate. Uh-huh. Going to be sharing it with all of us, yes. So that does mean that Virtual is only left with the Warlock, and this is something that Purple can't say he didn't expect. Right. The aggressive decks did have a good shot against Purple's lineup, but now he finds that one deck that he is very, very much prepared to deal with. So let's have a quick chat about the banned deck, Purple's Warlock here, because Purple and Fireback brought this Warlock deck that we haven't had much chance to talk about because it's either been banned out or been useless. What can you tell us about that particular deck? I think it was interesting. Right, so this is a Warlock that I only realized what it was meant to do after talking to Purple and Firebat, and it's a Warlock that's meant to win the mirror. It's got N'Zoth and less of the no Doomguard package. It's running Rin and it's running Gnome Feratu. In the case of Purple, he has 2 of them, and it's meant... They've actually just worked out that this kind of slow Warlock can straight up fatigue a Q block consistently if played correctly, and the 2 of them practicing together knew that. So in a target Warlock strategy, they decided to bring it just like this, and as well as just the fact that it's being a Warlock, it can deal with aggro decks just fine as well. Yeah, so the idea is it can beat the Warlocks, it can beat the aggro decks. And the thing that made it really funny is because they practiced together, they knew what each other were bringing. Firebat dropped one of the Gnome Feratus and put in an Elise because he thought it might give him a better chance in the mirror against Purple. Against the Purple mirror and no other mirror. The only one card deck in the whole place that was playing that. Unfortunately, we hardly get to see any narrative of that deck, and it in fact will be Virtual's Warlock, which is the more common Q block build that we all know and are familiar with. We know Daruk does not love it. Daruk's giving us the glare. So, pretty standard start there for Virtual in the form of Mistress of Mixers. Purple missing the Mana Worm and forced to play out Sorcerer's Apprentice just to, eat up a really awful trade. It is not a good feeling. No secrets to back this up as well. Essentially, Purple is just playing, Bloodfin Razor into... What's the standard 4-3? Don't know. But yeah, this seems like some arena draw here for Purple. Quite unlucky, but maybe this Arcanologist plus the Glyph can get something going for him here. He's going to need to. And again, at this point after this game, if I'm Purple, I put a Luneth in my deck. I don't think he's seen it all tournament. Yeah. It's like, just need it so badly now. It's so unfortunate that Purple was not able to pick up a secret to go with the Kirin Mage like counterspell.
Yeah.
That is absolutely what he needs to prevent this Hellfire from absolutely blowing up this board.
Yeah, he just hasn't drawn any synergy in any of these 3 games. A counterspell protecting your board can just win you this game on the spot. There's many, many other things. I keep on about the Aluneth because you just play it against Warlock. If it's quick enough, sometimes you get to burn their face, but he's just getting nothing rolling at all here.
Yeah, whereas Virtual has basically everything he needs. He's got Defile and Thalnos to clear up more boards. He's got healing in the form of Mistress and the Spellstone, and he can very, very comfortably make his way up to the Gul'dan. And what can Purple draw here aside from Aluneth?
Yeah,
pull him out.
Damn it, you ruined the answer for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's going to rely on Virtual having to make an error because his hand is just good enough to stay out of range. I guess accidentally taking a little bit too much damage.
Right. Well, good thing to note here is that Purple held back on the explosive runes because it is turn 5, which is Lackey turn, so very, very good matchup knowledge there. You wouldn't want to be giving Virtual a free Doomguard or Void Lord.
Yeah, Purple does play incredibly well when it comes to all those little nuances. He very rarely messes those up.
Although, what can you do about this? Even if you're the best player in the world, this kind of draw just does not line up against the draw from the Warlock. And really, this is just super unfortunate for Purple because this is the deck that he built the lineup to beat.
Yeah, and Virtual has probably got a turn or two of awkwardness here, but just temptations like wanting to play the Doomguard now. You're not going to, but you've got to find a way to not do that and keep yourself going. But these Defiles line up nicely at some point.
Sure. I think that Mountain Giant is just fine here, though, because if Purple doesn't answer it, you can Faceless it. And yeah, he's at a healthy enough life total with the Mistress in mind that he can just start making the counter push.
Yeah, I mean, the damage isn't that relevant, but populating the board with all this stuff is relevant.
Sure.
In terms of counter push, and that's what he's going to do.
It's just making life more annoying for the Mage. And Purple is just really drawing dead here. It's not an Aluneth, and the Mana Orb has come about 6 turns too late. So
in the happier world where Purple somehow wins this game, it comes about with a turn 10 Pyroblast.
Yes.
For exactly lethal.
Sure.
That's the only way this has a happy ending if you're Purple fan, I think.
Right. So
unless you're Virtual, who's a Purple fan.
That's the thing, right? If you're a fan, do you just throw the game? Nah.
No, you just beat them and then you go and cheer for somebody else next time.
Right. So the real question here is how Purple can get to that 10 health threshold without being without losing himself. And so he needs 8 damage to do that, and I think he'll need a block at some point as well, but he's not running Arcane Intellect.
Did Virtual just eat 2 extra damage there?
With the Defile.
Because he could have played the Giant first, it was going to die to the Defile anyway.
True, yeah. I think he may have just done that.
It could be relevant in situations where Purple had a Pyroblast and a Fireball in hand or something.
Yeah, funny that, how it works out, huh?
So just going to have to be a bit careful now because of that. But he's just setting up a lethal anyway.
Yep. Very, very smooth going Void Lord here. If Purple picks up an Ice Block, we could be in business.
Glyph into Ice Block into
Glacial Mysteries
something.
Puts out an Ice Block and a Potion of Polymorph, I'm pretty sure.
That seems good.
But he doesn't have enough mana to fit in the Fireball is the thing. Oh, it's 4 secrets, so that's the other explosive and the other counter
Merry Christmas,
as well.
everybody.
Happy New Year, Merry This is so apt for Christmas Eve. Haven't seen that many secrets on a mage ever, pretty much.
I've seen it on other classes in the past. We don't talk about those times.
Right, so Virtual has to be aware that he cannot play a minion with, less than 6 health if he doesn't want to get damaged. Well, he doesn't have one in hand anyway.
Gets the proc in on 2, which is important for Hellfire reasons.
Probably just not going to bother playing a minion. That's totally fine.
What mess
have
you
doesn't die to that.
Yeah, just get rid of the counter spell as well. Sure.
Again,
nice
set up the Hellfire possibility. Actually,
yeah, it's still over.
Yeah, it's fine.
Purple had to get Glyph into second block there, so that just is the quick.